Hi, so the question was, what is the ideal pattern for a breastfed baby? So what we do say is that a breastfed baby should be feeding around at least 8 to 10 times per 24 hours. And many babies, newborn babies, will feed much, much more than that. But that would be really a minimum to make sure that they're getting enough milk and that your supply is doing well as also. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is how long should a baby stay on the breast for each time? Or is it okay if my baby goes 4 hours and then does 2 hours and then does 1 hour? And really, it's a case of watching your baby and following your baby's cues. There really is no set time by the clock to follow, because some babies will be very efficient feeders and feed very quickly. Other babies may take a little bit longer. It's also to do with your storage capacity in terms of your milk supply and all those types of things that it depends on. So it's a very much a how long is a piece of string type of question, which is why looking at the clock and being scheduled can actually have more harmful effects on breastfed babies than following their cues. So what it can be helpful to do in those early days and weeks is to just keep a note on how many feeds. So not writing down or using apps to track how long baby was on each side or anything like that, but just doing a simple kind of tally chart. Even when you've got up to the 8, 9, 10, then you can kind of put the piece of paper away just in those early days to make sure you're getting in those feeds, so that if you did seek support or you were concerned and somebody asks you how many feeds, you know that you're getting in those feeds, because it can be hard sometimes to remember exactly when babies are feeding. However, going the other way, as I said, using trackers and things like that can make it quite stressful and put the emphasis on timing and scheduling, rather than just watching for this kind of rhythm, a natural rhythm to take hold, and watching your baby's cues. One of the best ways to watch for your baby's cues is to make sure that your baby is really close to you as much as possible. So having all that skin to skin time, which remains really beneficial even as your baby is getting older, really, really helpful. So keeping your baby close, you'll be able to watch those cues. Your baby will also maybe be able to initiate breastfeeding easier. If you're up and about a bit more when your baby's a bit older, then using something like a sling, for example, might be helpful to keep your baby close. And again, you can watch for those cues. But yeah, it really is very dependent on your baby. And another effective way to make sure that your baby's gaining weight is to watch the output. So looking for the right amount of wet and dirty nappies each day to ensure that your baby's getting a good healthy output, to know that your baby's getting enough milk. And of course, if you have any concerns, to get some support with that. Another way to look at feeding patterns is to watch if your baby is swallowing when your baby is breastfeeding. Sometimes babies can be sleepy, or they can be what we call nibbling the breast rather than taking effectively transferring milk. So if you watch your baby's jaw, and if your baby's jaw is dropping and you can sometimes hear swallowing, that can be a good sign that your baby's getting plenty of milk. If you find that your baby's quite sleepy, or there are concerns that your baby's not getting enough milk, then you can do something called breast compressions, which effectively is going to help increase the flow of your milk, and therefore will increase the intake of your milk, and it also stimulates your baby to be a bit more awake because they respond to the flow.